Okay, so we're going to talk about. I'm assuming that you are pretty accomplished at playing the melody in the three positions, and up here, and up here, etc., etc. I'm going to assume we don't need to go over any of that. If we do, let me know. So, what we're going to talk about is harmonizing the melody now. And by harmonizing, I mean playing, playing the chords for somebody who's playing the melody. So, under the assumption that you can play the melody, I'm going to play the background for you, and then you can go ahead and play along with the background that I'm about to lay down. The other thing that we're going to be considering is the idea that you can harmonize a melody in more than one way. That is to say, you don't have to use the same chords every time that you play through the melody. Even if you play the melody the exact same 3 times, I can change the chords if I want to and use other chords that harmonize with the melody. This is pretty common practice in music. Some songs are, you could listen to 4 different versions by 4 different people, and they would have 4 different sets of chords for that. So what I'm going to do is start by laying down a very simple chord progression, harmonizing the song in a very simple fashion, and then I will also later harmonize it a little differently. And then you can, I'm sure your ear will hear the difference one to the other. And it's, at that point, it's becomes subjective. But when you're playing a simple song like this, very often it adds some interest to reharmonize the song. Otherwise, a song as simple as Joy to the World can get pretty boring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count off 4. I'll count to 4 twice, and then I'll start playing the chords and you start playing the melody. I'm going to kind of whistle along a little bit just to make sure you get started. So it'll basically be 1, I'll just count to 4 once. I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then you can come in. Right? So we'll give her a go. So I'm just going to count to 4, and then like I said, I'll kind of whistle along a little bit or hum along just to help you keep on track the first time through. So I'll play the song once through, and then I'll go ahead and repeat it. And you can either play it in the same position, or you can try switching positions and playing along. That'll be entirely up to you, but use this to go ahead and practice playing the melody. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, so here's a really simple harmonization. If you look at the chord sheet that I sent to you in measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, starting in measure 9, if you want to count out to where that is, you see we have this long series of G chords. 1, 2, 3, 4, we just all these G chords one after the other. And though they technically work in harmonizing the melody, it's boring, in my opinion, to hear all those G chords before you finally get to that D. So if you were to go to the next set of chords, you would see that the first 8 measures are the same, but when I get to measure 9, I change it. I put in E minor D, G, G, same thing again, E minor D, G, G, then E minor, D, G, A minor, D7, D7. Okay? So that creates a little bit more interest in the harmonization of the song. So let's go ahead and try playing it again. And this time I'm going to play the chords in the second section there. And instead of playing all those G's, we'll have a couple of E minors and D's thrown in and a couple of A minors. And it'll just make the song a little bit more interesting. So here we go again. I'll count to 4, and I'll kind of whistle along to keep you on track. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So when you're, obviously too, we want you to practice playing the chords. And if you have a way of recording, a GarageBand or something, you can record the chords and then play along yourself. You'll notice that basically all the chords got one beat. The third from last measure of each section is the same. The last 3 measures are the same, as a matter of fact. And in that third from last measure is the only place where we deviate from just that 1, 2. On that third from last measure, we have 1, 2, and 1. Okay? And that's the same in both arrangements. 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 1. So really, I'm counting this song in 2. If I was counting the chords from the beginning, I'd just be counting 1, 2 for each measure. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? Until we get to that third from last measure, and there it's going to be 1, 2, and 1. Back to just a simple 1, 2. So if you have a problem with that, let me know and we'll figure out a way to make that a little bit easier, but I think you'll be fine on it. Let's just review how I'm playing the chords. On the G, measure 4, the G to the G7, I'm just taking the G like this, right? And I'm just adding the 7 there, the first fret of the high E string. Right, so I'm just going from G to G7 and then dropping down into that C. I don't tend to play the second finger on the A string. There's nothing wrong with that. When you play your basic G chord, I just leave out. I tend to just muffle that A string. But either way, you can either muffle the A string or you can actually press down on the second fret there. And then when you go to your G7, okay, from G to G7. On all the D and D7 chords, I'm playing the D and I'm using my thumb. on the F sharp 2nd fret. So for my D chord, I'm playing D, basic D, with the F sharp down here. And then when I go to the D7, like this, I'm still leaving the thumb there. You don't have to, but if you don't, then you have to muffle that low E string. Okay? So let's just review that. The D is basically here, open D, and then 2, 3, 2. And the D7 is open D, and then 2, 1, 2. So when you go from D to D7, it's a simple matter, right, of just D to D7. But I'm putting the F sharp in the bass, but it's still the same up top. D to D7. Okay? So practice playing the chords too, and as I said, if you're able to record that and then just play along with your recording, that would be a good thing too. You can do it in any order you want. You can play the first section of chords twice and then play the second variation twice and then just practice playing your melody in the different positions. Or you can just, you know, practice the chords separate, however you want to do it. Okay? So there's that harmonization of the melody. And if you have any questions, of course, you know where to reach me. And we'll leave it at that for now.